And we will be underway here in just a moment between Andrew Ling and Riley Curran. Jeskai aggro and Sultai midrange. See what Riley's able to put together here. Obviously off to a nice start. He's got an Apia Palace to get things going. Flooded Strand here for Ling. Of course, we do know with the Jeskai deck, they get off to a little bit of a slow start. Turn 3 is where things do heat up, as here's a Sylvan Carry added. Ling gonna sacrifice this Flooded Strand, go down to 19, search up a land in round number 4 of 11. Underway here from Columbus.
It's one of the fundamental problems with the deck in my mind is when it's on the draw, it just gets a lot of hands that don't get anything going until the 3rd turn. You know, you do have Seeker of the Way in most of these lists, and Andrew has a couple copies in his list as well, but most decks in the format are not going to have much difficulty blocking or killing that.
There is a Plains. We'll see if Ling has something to do on his 2nd turn of the game. Of course, right now, nothing has really been opened up to do with a Magma Jet or a Lightning Strike. And he did search for Plains, so for Curran, one thing you can notice right away here, no Nullify to worry about. And that's a card that's been making its way into Jeskai aggro recently.
Yeah, the counter spells are kind of picking up in popularity, whether it's some main deck copies of Disdainful Stroke, whether it's Nullify, as you mentioned.
So we will see. Yeah, no, what you wouldn't tell the judge right now. I mean, he needs to shuffle faster. He can't take that long. There is a Shivan Reef. And this is a Seeker of the Way. So some versions of this deck have cut this card, moved away from it entirely. Some versions of the deck only have like 2 copies, but we have ourselves a Seeker of the Way here, and there are actually 3 copies in the main deck of Andrew's deck.
I'm not a big fan. I like this card a lot against mono red, but that deck's receded a lot in popularity. And I think that it's just too anemic against too many decks in the format.
Pluto Delta getting sacrificed here by Curran. And he's going to play an Ashiok. Gerard Fabiano's invitational card.
Gerard loves an Ashiok, for better or for worse.
There's no one that likes this card more. It's going to turn over a couple of cards here. Sarkin was the most relevant card, but can't bring that one back, of course, with Ashiok. The camps are split on this card. Now, not from this particular deck. I think Blue-Black controls where the camps are split the most on this. But we haven't really seen Ashiok a lot in the standard format just yet. I'm just showing up here for Curran and doing a nice job.
I am not. I actively dislike the card in Blue-Black control lists, but I think in a deck like Sultai where you're more capable of blocking, I think it's much better.
Which we can see here what Sylvan Carry added. It could block if it wants to. Not sure if it did jump in front of the Seeker of the Way there. It looks like no is the answer as Curran's down at 17. And Ling is just going to pass the turn back with all the necessary colors of mana for his deck, but nothing to do on the 3rd turn of the game just yet. Ashiok will tick up. Turn over a couple of cards here. Battlefield Forge among them. There's also a Mantis Rider down there as well now.
The Mantis Rider is important, first creature, since it's going to be unlikely for Riley to be able to just take this Ashiok all the way to the finish line. He's got to start flipping over some creatures here to get some value out of it.
There is a Temple of Deceit. Take a look at the top card. Top card is going to go to the bottom, and we will pass the turn back over to Ling. Ling will play Hushwing Griff. This is the card that's starting to pick up in popularity a little bit in this deck. Only 2 copies, but it definitely does do some important things, one of which is shutting down the old Siege Rhino.
We made rock as well, so
yeah.
Does some work against Abzan, and I think this deck is just in the market for more flyers and more creatures in general anyway.
Plus, you get to kind of play that flash game that we've seen decks like this do. You know, are they holding up a counter spell like Nullify? Are they holding up a card like Jeskai Charm or Magma Jet, or is it just a creature? Well, it looks like we're going to jump in front this time of the Seeker of the Way. Now, last time Riley didn't because he had mana available. It looks like Ling is going to make a bit of a move here, though.
Well, this block, to me, is representing some sort of removal spell that Riley has access to, because he wouldn't chump block the Seeker of the Way with a carry added early on in the game otherwise.
It reeks of like a Hero's Downfall or, you know, Sultai Charm, something like that. Gonna Lightning Strike this, of course, gonna grow the Seeker of the Way. You can see a Hero's Downfall shifting through his hand. There is a Sultai Charm. So that's gonna go up to the Seeker of the Way before damage is dealt, of course. So bye-bye Seeker. Sylvan Carry will still hang around. And Ashiok's going to go down to 2 as the Hushwing Griff went after that as well.
So this is important insofar as now the Ashiok cannot get the Mantis Rider into play next turn, but it's still extracting quite a bit of value here. I mean, it's absorbing a lot of damage, making combat a little bit tricky here for Andrew. So even though Ashiok hasn't done anything yet, technically, it's still doing some work.
3 more cards turned over from Ashiok, and just a passing of the turn. Ling is going to go into the red zone here.
Try to move those cards over, get a better look at Ashiok's handiwork.
Yep. Sylvan Curran going to jump in front of Seeker of the Way again. Well, we saw what happened last time this happened.
We're going to see some sort of tricks coming, see what it is. But Riley has to have something planned for all of this.
Jeskai Charm. Looks like that's going upstairs, of course. Do not believe that he's using the +1/+1 mode. The question is he redirecting the damage to something? Well, here's an Aether Spouse.
Ugh.
Okay, then. This a 2 of in Curran's deck.
This is a filthy card, and by the time Standard's done, we're going to see way more of it than we currently do.
I think it is kind of underplayed. It is expensive, and it is kind of something that you can sort of see coming, but even though you can see it coming, it's still pretty good. I mean, Ling put a card on top and on the bottom, and Curran can just say, all right, I'll just Ashiok the card you put on top.
Yep.
That world does exist. There's a Courser. Take a look at the top card. Sylvan Carry added. There's a Polluted Delta. Trigger. Gain a life. We're going to go down to 3. Somebody wants a Mantis Rider. There it is. Nothing else down there to take. Now we're going to the red zone. So Riley Curran is turning the corner thanks to Aether Spouts.
And I think Hero's Downfall still left over in hand after it's all said and done, too. So a good tempo swing there for Riley.
It's pretty good stuff.
At Aether Spouts. We're gonna see more of that card by the time we're done here than we do right now.
It always just seems like a beating every time it's cast. What it did this turn was pretty good. I mean, and that feels like, you know, a medium Aether Spouts.
Only 2 creatures.
Yeah.
But it might have just pushed Andrew out of this game entirely.
It's a Goblin Rabble Master. You know, the Aether Spouts good against.
Pretty good against Rabble Master.
So that's going to come.
Well, sort of. I mean, it's solid against Rebel Master.
I like
clean it up.
Yeah, clean that, and the Goblin tokens at least. Typically, what I have seen is here is the attack. Goblin Rebel Master will not be attacking, so it's going to be a Stoke the Flames. It's going to take care of the Mantis Rider. It's oftentimes the Goblin that gets left behind that does a lot more work than you would expect it to.
Sure.
So being able to clean that up has got to be pretty nice. Polluted Delta going to get sacrificed on the upkeep, so Curran does not draw that copy of Sylvan Caryatid. That's one of the last things he needs at this point. He will get an island. And a pretty one. I think that's Odyssey.
That is...
This is you.
Wow.
This is you.
Onslaught. That's Onslaught.
All right.
Whew.
This is what we pay you to do.
Ooh, that was close.
Got to be on top of it. Here's an Opulent Palace. That will be the draw. Take a look at the top cards. A copy of Soultide Charm. Palace will come into play. Trigger the Courser. Gain a life up to 15. Ashiok's Elevator is going up. Get some cards here. It's a Stoke, Magma Spray, a Mantis Rider, and a Battlefield Forge.
2 copies of Magma Spray added to Andrew's main deck. Probably a response to the Jeskai Senzi heroic deck from last week.
Well, after what we saw Crone Crusader do, this doesn't surprise me all that much.
Get me some cheap removal.
Yeah. That was Public Enemy #1 after last week's performance by Ivan Jen. And Curran, we see the card on top of his deck. Again, the Soultide Charm. Well, you know he's got a Hero's Downfall still in his hand, but not a lot going on. He hasn't really been able to turn the corner and start dealing some damage or anything.
Doesn't feel like too big of a rush, though. He's building up his board. His defenses are pretty well set up.
Another Goblin token there from the Rabble Master. Rabble Master going to hang back on defense, it looks like. And the rest of the other Goblins are going to be coming in here. And that's what's going to happen. Some blocks will take place, yeah. Curran just going to block there. Doesn't want to put Courser in front of anything.
Doesn't want it to get finished off by Lightning Strike, I suppose.
It's a little bit risky, you know. You leave those Goblins out there.
Well,
Makes the Rabble Master bigger.
Well, the thing about that is, you know, right now there's 2 tokens in play. So even if he eats one of the tokens, Rabble Master is still 4 power the next turn when the token gets generated and the Rabble Master attacks. So it still trades with the Courser. The difference between 4 and 5 power doesn't change how Riley has to block against the Rabble Master. So he might be able to afford to just say, all right, I want to protect my Courser here, not have it get lightning struck away, because I can still trade with your Rabble Master if you ever present it as an attacker.
It's a forest off the top from the Courser. You see the top card now of Curran's deck is a copy of Dig Through Time. Sultai Charm going to take care of the Rabble Master. Hushwing Griff going to slide in here for Ling. So he's got some forces in the air. And now here's an attack for 2.
Riley had a healthy life total, a removal spell still left in hand, and now drawing a Dig Through Time.
And there is your dig. Top card now is a copy of Thoughtseize. It's got 6 cards in the graveyard, 2 for dig. So the whole bin. The power of Dig Through Time on display. And you can see Ling is probably asking, with Dig and Courser, how does that work? Does it work in my favor? Maybe yes, maybe no. Well, it looks like a disdainful stroke.
2 in the main.
All right.
All right, so, you know, Andrew's still in trouble, but I think that Dig Through Time would have been the end of the game if it resolved.
I think so too.
And now we play on.
So these main deck cards, a little unorthodox. Helping out Ling. Curran going to scry here. There's a Kiora, the Crashing Wave. A card we haven't started to see a lot of this card yet in Standard. I think eventually we will. Doesn't seem like a great format for it though.
Not right now. I think there might be a little bit too much haste in the format for Kiora to be very good, but I do like the card and think there will be an uptick with it at some point down the format's road.
It's an attack.
Kiora is pretty poor against Mantis Rider.
Accurate.
That's a problem.
It's kind of sad, actually, that Mantis Rider is one of the cards that might just push this out of the format, never get it the light of day.
Yep.
Outside of the Block Pro Tour. Because Kiora is such like a sweet card, and everyone likes blue-green.
I think it's got enough legs against decks like Abzan and blue-black control that if the metagame gets to the right spot, it'll show up. But
here's a Thoughtseize. Looks like we have a response here. Perhaps we are going to stoke some flames. And looks like we are, so we're going upstairs with that. And now there's a mountain from the Thoughtseize, so Curran's going to take a lot of damage this turn. While this Hushwing Griff continues to beat down. There's a Temple. That's going to come in. Going to gain a life here off the Courser. Little scry action. Hero's Downfall. Looks to be the answer.
I think Riley's position looked really commanding. And just enough funky stuff has gone on here that Andrew might be able to pull this one out.
Speaking of funky stuff, Prognostic Swing's on top of the deck now. Here is Kiora. The coast is, of course, clear, as he did see with the Thoughtseize. Curran still holding on to the Hero's Downfall. Going to draw this, put that there. Don't get to play that one, as he's already played a land for the turn, I believe. No, actually, Kiora, never mind. So he gets to keep going. That's adorable.
Combo!
That is adorable. Now he's got another Prognostic Sphinx on top of his deck. He's got 5 mana he can cast. This Sphinx is basically the best turn I've ever seen.
This is I didn't know the attack to.
This is probably the best turn I've ever seen. Ivan Jen, eat your heart out. What you did last week was nothing compared to that.
I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of the attack there.
You do open yourself.
It's a little aggressive, for my liking, I think. Although I guess he still has a blocker back, so the worst case scenario is Andrew can knock him to 5, which means he still needs to find 2 cards.
Sure. But you might want to knock him to 5, right? Because if you knock him to 5, let's assume that maybe Courser's going to gain you 2 more life over the course of this game. 5 up to 7 is 2 spells, while 7 to 9 is not.
Right.
Maybe you have to look ahead to the future a couple turns.
The flip side is by attacking him that turn, he gets him to 10, and now these attacks it's a 2-turn clock.
That's true, yeah.
I'm on the fence about it.
It seems very close. Certainly not an easy decision to make,
no.
That's for sure. Prognostic Sphinx doing a bunch of scrying here. Curran with a Cure on 1 in play. 2 Sylvan Carry added to Prognostic Sphinx that's attacking along with that Courser. Courser will be chump blocked by a Goblin Token. 3 damage will come across. Curran with a lot of lands in play. Going to cash in the Cure to draw the Cure. A top card. Okay.
Ooh.
Well, the Apex Predator. Now that's the definition of a fun of.
Yeah.
Look at this big guy.
Yeah, he's got enough mana to...
Of course he does. Look at this. This is an absolute delight. That's going to come in. That will take care of Hushwing Griff. Kindly leave.
He gets to gain 1 life for his trouble as well.
That makes the Garrick basically free. Get the gain of life.
I love these Sultai mid-range style decks because at certain points in the game looks close. And this game certainly was.
Yep.
But once we reach this stage, he looks ahead by quite a bit.
Well, when there's a Garrick in play, I would hope that you are ahead. And that's exactly what Riley Curran is. He wins game number 1 here against Andrew Ling. Sultai mid-range up a game here with Jeskai aggro. As we move on to the sideboards, we will take a look at what Ling has to bring in.
Another copy of Temple of Triumph, 2 Erase, 2 Reprisal, a Glare of Heresy, a Keranos Godstorm, a 3rd copy of Disdainful Stroke, 2 End Hostilities, 3 Anger of the Gods, 2 Negates. Not a lot to like here. I like the 2 Negates, the Disdainful Stroke, and the Keranos.
Well, there's a Garrick in the main deck. I didn't get to the sideboard yet, so I hope for some nice action here. Liliana Vest, good start. A Hornet Queen and Unravel the Aether. 2 Dissolve, a Disdainful Stroke, and Extinguish All Hope. That's what I'm talking about.
There you go.
3 Bile Blights, a Farika's Cure, and 4 Drown Sorrow. Somebody does not want to lose to the red deck this weekend. That's for sure. I think I like Dissolve. Disdainful Stroke is good for countering Dig in this matchup, and Stoke, I suppose. There are some other things, too. I guess we saw Sarkin as well.
Yeah, and sometimes these decks have, Sarkin or Stormbred Dragon, Ashcloud Phoenix. They present some number of 4s and 5s.
The Queen is, I think, pretty nice, even though it's really expensive. Like, if you can get it in play, I think it'll be good, but it is an expensive threat.
It's probably faster and higher impact than something like Garrick, let's say. So I think you can probably bring in a lot of this, as you're sort of describing, depends on how many bad cards you have to cut, because Hornet Queen, Disdainful Stroke, these feel like 6 out of 10s or 7 out of 10s. They're not great, but they're good. So how many inefficient cards in your main deck do you have to remove?
And I think the Bile Blights almost certainly have to come in. Mantis Rider actually seems like a problem for Riley's deck.
Definitely, and because of this, I think that I would cut Kiora out of the deck.
Me too.
Because it lines up so poorly against cards like Lightning Strike, like Mantis Rider, that, that game, because Riley had so much removal and the game had dragged on, he was able to squeeze out a good amount of content out of Kiora, but early on in the game, I think that card is going to struggle to be productive, and Riley has to shore up the early game, because as we saw, once the game goes late, he has so much more power in his deck that he should be fine.
It is time to take a look at the 2015 Open Series schedule for quarter number 1. It has been announced. If you guys are unfamiliar, we will go over that with you right now, where we will it'll be a little chilly when we do start things, unfortunately, but I'm still looking forward to it. We'll begin it, right here.
2 months away, well, less than 2 months away.
I don't mind coming back.
I don't either. We'll be back here. Then Philly the next weekend. We'll have a weekend off after that. Then DC and Indy to close out January. And then we move on to warmer environs as we go to Houston. The week before Houston, keep in mind that's going to be regionals. And we just posted our schedule for that. So make sure you're staying tuned for more information on regionals. Los Angeles the weekend after that. Baltimore. And then the beginning of March, we head to Miami for a Grand Prix hosted by Star City Games. Format will be standard, and more information for that will be coming post Grand Prix New Jersey, Dallas, and then we end Season 1 Invitational in Richmond, Virginia.
Looking forward to that. I don't say normally, but this year our Season 1 Invitational was in Charlotte. We'll be going to Richmond this go around, though. Now that I've realized that we're going to be in Columbus for week 1 of season 1 of 2015, I just realized it's going to be quite the Ohio trek I'm going to be on. I'm going to Players Championship, obviously, in December. And then I'm going to be flying home to see the parents. Mm-hmm. That'll be taking place on the 22nd to the 29th of December. I'm going to go back to Seattle for New Year's and then back to Ohio again.
And back to see the folks.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just can't get enough.
My trip for the holidays is going to be, we had that weekend off after Philly.
Yep.
And so post Philly Open, I will be staying in New Jersey for a week or so.
How far is Philly from Jersey?
From where I grew up?
Yeah.
About an hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, that's nothing. That's easy.
I grew up about 45 minutes from New York City and an hour and 15 from downtown Philly.
That's easy. Wow.
Yep. Take the train line right up. It's convenient. East Coast rules, man. I miss it.
Rules are strong.
It's the best.
Strong. I'm coming around to it. I'll tell you, that walk from the hotel when we were in Worcester to the convention center.
Fall in New England.
That block of a walk. It was actually kind of refreshing.
Fall in New England or in the mid-Atlantic, there's nothing like it.
The crisp air.
Yeah.
Looks like Riley's going to take a mulligan
Nothing
here.
else like it.
The grass stains on your jeans.
Yep. After playing football in the yard or whatever. Oh, yeah.
Your mother having to buy another bottle of Shout.
Yep. And now I live in a place where they have Christmas lights on palm trees. Not really the same thing,
Are the Christmas lights already up where you are?
No, that is something that is kind of nice about Southern California, I guess, is Christmas fever does not take hold of the area in the same way that it does in a place like New Jersey because it doesn't get cold. So you really only start seeing Christmas decorations around, end of November, beginning of December. It's not pre-Thanksgiving. Be a faux pas. If you had Christmas lights on your house right now in Southern California, it'd be a faux pas for sure.
Apparently in downtown Strongsville, Ohio, where I'm from, not to say that downtown's big, there's like a city hall and some other nonsense.
Yeah.
The Christmas lights are just already up.
Yep.
Thanksgiving just hasn't happened. It's the first week of November. Get a grip, people.
I think that's a cold weather thing. It's not like that in Southern California.
A couple of lands here to start. Ling with a Shivan Reef. You see Curran with an Opulent Palace. There's a Flooded Strand. We'll go back Riley's way, see if he does have the Mana Accelerant. Looks like he does have a copy of Sylvan Caryatid in hand. I think I also see a Thoughtseize hiding out over there in the grip. But he will go with the acceleration instead of the discard spell. Ling will draw. Not cracking that fetch just yet. There's a Battlefield Forge. It's a painful mana base.
And missing on 3 and on 2 out of a Jeskai aggro deck, not a good start.
I smell a Hushwing Griff. There's a Courser. Perhaps a counter spell as well. That's in there. Opulent Palace off the top comes into play, gain a life.
Sometimes I see players, when the opponent has a Caryatid on the draw, they'll sit on Disdainful Stroke. But that's really risky to do because these decks generate so many 3s that if that's something they're concerned about, they can usually still have a productive turn while playing around it.
Saw a lot of 3s last game, too.
We did. Sultai Charm.
Yeah. Here's Downfall. The whole bunch. There is an island. So Ling opting for that instead of a Plains.
Maybe representing Dig Through Time, or at least wants to have double blue for... I guess there's no dissolves here, so that's the only thing.
Is it time for a Griff? No Griff either. Wow. All right. Andrew, what do we got working over there? There's a Battlefield Forge, so there's another source of white mana if that does come up. Plenty of red over there, as you can see. Here's some mana. It's time to cast a spell. Looks like it's a Stoke the Flames to kill the Courser. But now the shields are down, so if Riley Curran has a card like Prognostic Sphinx, this game could be over before it even begins.
And the Jeskai aggro deck can't get the card off the table once it resolves unless he's brought in something like his copy of End of Hostilities or something like that, which seems unlikely.
I suppose we'll find out what's going on now. As here's a Thoughtseize. You're going to see a Negate, a Lightning Strike, a Jeskai Charm, a Dig Through Time, and a copy of Shivan Reef. A very reactive hand here for Ling.
And you can see these are the kind of hands that make me want to put more creatures into the Jeskai aggro deck, because when you don't have a creature, your hands just look like this. And one discard spell, one counter spell is going to be really hard for you to play through. If he takes a Dig Through Time here, Andrew's hand is nonsense, basically. It's got 2 burn spells and a counter spell.
Well, the dig is gone.
Yeah, now the dig's gone, so he's got a Lightning Strike, a Jeskai Charm, and a Negate.
Yep.
So he's going to be hard-pressed to beat much of anything from Riley at this point. Planeswalkers, counter spells, Prognostic Sphinx, it's all really hard to beat.
And the land comes directly into play. It's a Mystic Monastery. Curran knows that was the draw. However, he cannot capitalize, though here is a Dig Through Time, which I have to imagine will get countered. Don't think you can let this resolve.
And
So
Riley wisely doing this on the upkeep. So Andrew would have to commit his mana. I guess there's an argument on the other side that if Andrew drew Sarkin, you'd want that to resolve so you could dig, but splitting hairs either way.
Temple of Malady is going to put the top card to the bottom with the Scry, pass the turn back. Both players just playing a little draw go action here. An island is the draw here for Ling. He'll just pass the turn back over to Curran. Curran will draw a card. Looked like it was a copy of a Forest. There's a Temple of Mystery. Take a look at the top card. This is also going to the bottom. Curran does look to have another copy of Dig Through Time in the grip, though. Here's a Hushwing Griff. That's going to resolve. Untap and draw will Ling.
Perhaps a little late to the party.
Temple of Epiphany. Never too late. That's going to put the top card to the bottom. This is an attack for 2. Curran's going to go on a 17. Tie game.
Still anyone's ball game.
Tie game. Perhaps we're going to dig. Will this resolve? The game is no longer tied.
Still looks pretty good at 7 mana. I gotta say.
Yeah. Let's see what this is going to be.
Pretty close to full retail, and it still seems like this is going to allow Riley to pull away.
There's at least a Prognostic Sphinx there. There's the 7th card, which is a Temple of Malady. Also a Sultai Charm hanging out. Some nice options. I think a Courser there, too. Saw Curran consult the grip. Now he's going back to the dig.
And Prognostic Sphinx seems like it's good here. You can pretty safely assume Andrew does not have Disdainful Stroke in hand because he would have countered the dig. And once the Sphinx is in play, Andrew's offense through creatures is pretty much blunted.
There's a dissolve hanging out there as well. So we could see the old take a counterspell and a big creature.
Good combo.
Yeah, play the creature, they try to counter it, you counterspell back, and then Prognosis Sphinx. Well, we know once it's in, it's not going anywhere.
And even if Andrew doesn't have a counterspell in hand, you're still happy to have a dissolve.
Yeah.
Riley has all the mana in the world to work with. And given that his hand is just burn spells, having a counterspell to trade 1-for-1 with a threat or just counter the most impactful burn spell is very powerful here.
Decisions. Card's going to go to the bottom. The dig does resolve. Of course, dig will be placed in the graveyard. The rest of the cards have been exiled, so Curran has made his decision on what he wants to take with dig through time. We will go back Ling's way. Excuse me, we'll go back Curran's way. My apologies. As Riley is reaching for mana. This costs 5. That costs 3.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Urborg in there. Curran going to go up to 18. Take a look at the top card here in just a moment. There's a Prognostic Sphinx. The information is another Prognostic Sphinx.
Bad news. The first Sphinx, that's defense. The second one, that is offense.
Yeah. It's getting ugly. This card I still feel horrifically underplayed. For how good it was to the Block Pro Tour, and how 5 toughness is kind of the sweet spot in this format. If you have 5 toughness, you're in a great spot. I'm surprised it doesn't see more play. Maybe it's just trying to find the shell.
Well, that's part of it. I also think the major weakness of Prognostic Sphinx is pump spells, and a lot of decks bring that to the table, whether it's something like Boss Slide. Even the Obzon decks can Obzon Charm their stuff through it. So it doesn't do a great job of blocking, at least compared to how it was at the Block Pro Tour. There's also a lot of matches where it's just, low impact is a way to describe it.
It does take a long time to close the game out, like, via actual damage. And you're not actually drawing cards. You're just fixing your draw. So there are some ups and downs to it. It looks like burn spells might be going upstairs now. While the shields are down. Oh, yeah, stoke you too. Take 8. Push you down to 10.
But Riley has done a very good job protecting his life total thus far. So, yes, he just took 8, but he's got a lot of life to play with.
Prognostic Sphinx the draw. Here's the attack with the Courser and the Sphinx that's in play. Scry Trigger. 3 cards. What we'll be looking at here.
There's so many combos in this deck.
You just can't get enough.
I just can't get enough.
No. Couple on top. Looks like some to the bottom as well. Top card here. A polluted Delta.
Oh, it wasn't a land before, but it's a land now.
That's just a good queen living right there. Delta's going to come in. Trigger. Now dissolves on top. There's another Sphinx. Looks like our Legacy Open champion here previously, and Riley Curran is running away with this one. Even tapping the polluted Delta for mana.
Because of the Urborg.
Yep.
Which I don't think is entirely necessary because he was still. It still seems better to me to have the option of sacking the Delta in case something weird happens, but whatever. The point is the deck can do a lot of cool, subtle stuff.
Sometimes you want to get a little cute. Yeah. I understand. Hey, he can still untap and sack it on his upkeep. Bang.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go.
Still live. Curran at 11, Ling at 15. Ling's got to find some burn spells here because he is definitely in some trouble. And I think he knows it. 5 mana. Sarkin. Normally incredible. Merely okay right now.
Riley's got it on lock.
Yeah. It's going to go up. Here are the attacks. Looks like somebody's trying to force through a little bit of damage here. And Prognostic Sphinx going to block there. He could eat the Hushwing Grip, but then you take 4 going to 7. And you don't want to be at 7 against this deck.
I much prefer just protecting life total here. Riley identifies that too.
Yeah.
Just making the block that saves the most damage.
Bioblight there to take care of the Hushwing Grip to make sure no more damage does come across. So Curran is going to draw Dissolve, which I think is a good idea. Hero's Downfall is the top card. Looks like he's cinching down on this one.
Yeah, nothing in these color combinations or with the mana, that Andrew has available here that can really be disruptive towards his attack on the Sarkin here. So Riley can get off the table safely.
To scry through here from the Sphinx attack. 1 Sphinx hanging back on defense. Again, 5 toughness, a sweet spot here. There's a Temple.
And I like Riley really erring on the side of caution here, leaving the Sphinx back on an empty board.
No reason to, I think, get too aggressive here. Temple's going to reveal a Hero's Downfall. That's going to stay on top of the deck. Can't forget, of course, he does gain a life there from the Courser, so he's up to 12. But I do like erring on the side of caution, just like you. Don't get too crazy.
No reason to. Riley's got it sewn up as long as he doesn't get punked out of the game. So protect your life total at all costs, even if it means conceding the board or being as efficient with the mana as possible.
Lightning Strike does go upstairs in Curran. He's down to 9. Can't forget he does have a Dissolve in his hand in case anything goes wrong. Kind of a break in case of emergency card.
Yep.
Ling is going to show a couple lightning strikes and concede the game. Riley Curran is going to win this match over Andrew Ling. 2-0. Sultai mid-range going to take down Jeskai aggro deck. I did not expect to see, but as we said many times so far through these handful of rounds, we don't really know what we're going to expect to see this weekend.
Most of the Sultai decks that we've seen are the Sidisi Whip used by Graveyard for shenanigan style decks. Riley just playing a straight up removal spell, good stuff deck.